The stellar drift was the kind of place where anyone could forget their troubles for a while. The bar sat on the edge of Haven's Gate orbital station, with large windows that showed the stars stretching out into forever. Inside, the lights were warm and soft. Different species from across the galaxy sat at tables and booths, drinking and talking in a dozen different languages that the translators turned into something everyone could understand. Hyun-woo sat at the bar counter, his hands wrapped around a glass of earth whiskey. He was tired in a good way, the kind of tired that came after 3 months of hard work. His ship had just finished a long haul between the mining colonies and the Outer Rim, and now he had 2 weeks of leave before the next job. He was a simple man with a simple job. He moved cargo from one place to another, and he liked it that way. No drama, no trouble, just him and his ship and the long quiet of space. Ji-young stood behind the bar, wiping down glasses and chatting with the customers. She had owned the stellar drift for 5 years now, and she knew how to handle the mix of species that came through her doors. She was good at reading people, human or otherwise. She knew when to talk and when to just pour another drink and let someone sit in peace. Taesung sat on the stool next to Hyunwoo, telling some story about a malfunctioning air recycler on level 7. He worked as an engineer on the station, fixing the 1,000 small problems that kept Haven's Gate running. He liked to talk, which worked out fine since Hyunwoo liked to listen. Around them, the bar hummed with life. At one table, a group of clicking traders were negotiating a deal, their antennae twitching as they spoke in rapid bursts. At another, some human miners were playing cards and laughing too loud. Near the window, a couple of the tall blue-skinned wanderers were sharing a quiet meal. Velrith sat alone at a corner table, going over data on a portable screen. He was one of the clicking, an insectoid species that looked something like a praying mantis if a praying mantis stood 5 feet tall and wore clothes. Velrith was a regular at the stellar drift. He came in 3 times a week, always ordered the same synthetic nutrient drink, and always sat in the same spot. Ji-young liked him because he was polite and tipped well. Everything was normal. Everything was peaceful. Then the door opened and Gormash walked in. The conversation didn't stop all at once. It was more like a wave moving through the room. People near the door saw him first and went quiet. Then the people at the next tables noticed and stopped talking. Within seconds, the whole bar had gone silent except for the soft background music that Ji-young quickly turned off. Gormash was a razor claw, and razor claws had a reputation. They were big, standing over 8 feet tall, with bodies covered in thick chitinous plates that looked like natural armor. Their hands ended in retractable claws that could cut through metal. Their faces were all sharp angles and predator eyes that could track movement across a room. They came from a heavy gravity world where everything was a fight for survival, and they carried that attitude with them wherever they went. This particular razor claw looked like he was spoiling for trouble. He wore combat gear covered in scars and burns, the kind of wear that said he had seen real fighting. A large weapon hung from his belt. Those station rules said it should be powered down. He walked into the bar like he owned it, his clawed feet clicking on the floor. Hyunwoo glanced up from his drink, then looked back down. It wasn't his problem. He just wanted to finish his whiskey and maybe have one more before heading back to his ship to sleep for 12 hours. Taesung had gone quiet too. He leaned in close to Hyunwoo and whispered, "Razor Claw, those guys are bad news." Hyunwoo just nodded. Everyone knew about Razor Claws. They were mercenaries mostly, sometimes pirates. They came from a culture that valued strength above everything else. To them, most other species were either weak or weaker. Humans fell into the weaker category. Humans didn't have claws or armor or venom or any of the things that made a species dangerous in razor claw eyes. Humans were soft, slow, and mostly harmless. Ji-young stepped forward with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Welcome to the stellar drift, what can I get you?" Gormash looked down at her like she was an insect. "Something strong, and make it quick." His translator turned his growling language into flat, emotionless words, but the tone came through anyway. Ji-young nodded and turned to make the drink, her hands moving fast. The other patrons started talking again, but quieter now, keeping one eye on the razor claw. Gormash took his drink and moved into the room, looking around like he was sizing everyone up. His eyes passed over the humans without interest, lingered on the wanderers for a moment, then fixed on Velrith. Something changed in the air. Velrith felt it too. He looked up from his screen and saw the razor claw staring at him. Valrith's antennae flattened against his head, a sign of fear in his species. Clicking and razor claws had history. On their homeworlds, they had been predator and prey. Even now, thousands of years after both species had reached the stars, that old relationship lingered. Razor claws saw clicking as natural victims. Some of them couldn't resist the urge to prove it. Hyunwoo watched this all from the corner of his eye. He saw Ji Young's hand move slowly toward the emergency button under the bar. He saw Velrith gathering up his things, trying to leave quietly. He saw Gormash start to move toward the clicking trader. Tae-sung saw it too. "This is going to go bad," he muttered. Hyunwoo took another sip of his whiskey. The burn of it going down was smooth and familiar. He had 2 more weeks of peace ahead of him. 2 more weeks before he had to go back out into the black. He really didn't want trouble, but he could see where this was heading, and he knew Ji Young had hit that emergency button. Station security would come, but Haven's Gate was a big place. They would take 20 minutes, maybe 30. A lot could happen in 30 minutes. Hyunwoo set down his glass and hoped he was wrong about what was going to happen next. But 30 years of life had taught him that when someone like Gormash walked into a room looking for trouble, he usually found it. Gormash walked slowly toward Velrith's table. Every step was deliberate, meant to be seen. This was how predators moved when they wanted their prey to know they were coming. It was a game to them, a way to savor the fear before the violence. Velrith stood up quickly, clutching his datapad to his chest. His antennae were completely flat now, and his compound eyes darted toward the exit. But Gormash was between him and the door. The clicking trader backed up until he hit the wall. Leaving so soon? Gormash's translator made the words sound almost polite, but there was nothing polite in the way he moved. "I just got here. Stay, have a drink with me." "I must go," Velrith said, his voice high and trembling. "I have business elsewhere." "Business?" Gormash laughed, a harsh sound that needed no translation. "The only business prey have is running." "But where will you run, little bug? This is a station." "There is nowhere to go." Ji Young came out from behind the bar. She kept her voice calm and professional. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to back off. This is a peaceful establishment. We don't allow harassment of other patrons." Gormash looked at her like she had just made a joke. "Harassment? I'm just talking." "Is talking against your rules, human?" "You're scaring my customers," Ji Young said. "Please return to the bar, or I'll have to ask you to leave." "You'll ask me?" Gormash turned to face her fully. "You, a human female barely half my size? You will ask me to do nothing." The room had gone completely silent again. Everyone was watching now. Some of the patrons were slowly moving toward the exit. Others just sat frozen, afraid that any movement would draw attention their way. Tae-sung's hand gripped his glass so tight his knuckles went white. "We should do something," he whispered to Hyunwoo. "Security is coming," Hyunwoo said quietly. "Let them handle it." But even as he said it, he knew security wouldn't get there in time. He had seen this kind of situation before, in other bars, other stations, other worlds. He knew how it would go. Gormash turned back to Velrith. The clicking trader tried to slip along the wall toward the door, but the razor claw was faster. His hand shot out and grabbed Velrith by the front of his clothing, lifting him off the ground with one arm. "Where do you think you're going?" Gormash held Velrith at eye level. "We haven't finished our conversation." Velrith made a sound that the translator couldn't process, something between a chirp and a cry. His legs kicked uselessly in the air. He weighed maybe 90 pounds. To Gormash, he was nothing. "Put him down," Ji Young shouted. She had her communicator in her hand. "I've called station security. They'll be here any minute." "Minutes," Gormash said. "Many things can happen in minutes." He carried Velrith back toward the center of the room like he was carrying a piece of luggage. Some of the patrons were leaving now, hurrying out the door. Others had their communicators out, recording. This was the kind of thing that would be all over the station network within an hour. Razorclaw terrorizes Bar. Nobody stops him. Just another day in the galaxy. "Do you know what we do on my world?" Gormash said to Velrith. "When we find prey that thinks it can sit among predators, we remind it of its place. We call it the dominance display." Hyunwoo knew what that meant. He had heard about it. Razorclaws didn't usually kill during a dominance display. They just hurt. They wanted the victim alive to remember, to fear, to tell others. It was about sending a message. Tae-sung started to stand up. Hyunwoo put a hand on his arm, holding him back. "Don't, you'll just get hurt. So we just watch?" Tae-sung's voice was angry and frustrated. Hyunwoo didn't answer. He was thinking. He was always thinking, even when he looked calm and relaxed. That was something the military had taught him years ago. Stay calm, assess the situation, find the best option. Sometimes the best option was to do nothing. Sometimes it wasn't. He looked at Velrith struggling in Gormash's grip. He looked at Ji-young, helpless and furious. He looked at the other patrons, scared and filming but not helping. He thought about the 20 minutes until security arrived. He thought about what could happen in 20 minutes to someone who weighed 90 pounds and was being held by someone who weighed 300. Hyunwoo had left the military 5 years ago. He had left because he was tired of fighting. He had become a cargo hauler because it was simple and peaceful. No decisions about who to hurt or when to hurt them. Just goods moving from point A to point B, but some decisions made themselves. He stood up slowly, pushing back his stool. The scraping sound made Gormash glance over. The Razor Claw saw a human male, average height, average build, no visible weapons, no armor, nothing remarkable at all. "Sit down, human," Gormash said. "This doesn't concern you." Hyunwoo walked forward a few steps. His hands hung loose at his sides. His voice was calm, almost conversational. "Let him go." Gormash stared at him for a moment, then laughed. "Let him go, or what? What will you do?" "Let him go," Hyunwoo repeated. "Walk away. Nobody has to get hurt. Nobody." Gormash shook Velrith like a toy. "This bug is already hurt. His pride, his dignity, his sense of safety, all hurt, and you think you can stop me? You, a human with no claws, no fangs, no armor? Your species survived on your homeworld by running away. You were prey. You know what that makes you here?" He dropped Velrith. The clicking traitor hit the floor hard and scrambled backward on his hands and knees. Gormash advanced on Hyunwoo instead. "It makes you my next lesson," Gormash said. Ji-young came around the bar. "Hyunwoo, don't please, security will be here soon." Tae-sung stood up too. "He's right. You don't have to do this." But Hyunwoo wasn't looking at them. He was looking at Gormash. He was measuring distances and angles. He was watching how the Razor Claw moved, where his weight settled, how his claws extended and retracted. He was doing what he had been trained to do a long time ago. "Last chance," Hyunwoo said. "Walk away." Gormash showed his teeth in something that might have been a smile. "Make me." The other patrons backed up, giving them space. Someone was definitely recording now. This would be all over the network. Human challenges Razor Claw. This ought to be quick. This ought to be bloody. Everyone knew how this would end. Everyone except Hyunwoo. Gormash lunged forward with the speed of a creature born to hunt. His claws came up, ready to tear and shred. He was fast, trained, dangerous. He had killed before. He had hurt many before that, but Hyunwoo didn't run. He didn't even back up. He stepped forward into the attack, inside the arc of those claws, and everything that happened next happened very fast. Gormash's claws cut through the air where Hyunwoo's head had been a moment before. But Hyunwoo was already moving, stepping inside the Razor Claw's reach where those long arms became a disadvantage instead of a weapon. His hands came up fast, one grabbing Gormash's wrist, the other striking hard at the elbow joint. The technique was simple. The execution was perfect. Gormash's arm bent at an angle it wasn't meant to bend, and a sound came out of him that was definitely pain. The translator didn't even try to process it. Hyunwoo didn't stop moving. He couldn't afford to. Gormash was stronger than him, heavier than him, and covered in natural armor. In a contest of pure strength, Hyunwoo would lose. So he didn't contest strength. He used leverage, momentum, and the fact that joints only bent certain ways no matter what species you were. Gormash swung with his other arm, trying to rake his claws across Hyunwoo's back. Hyunwoo dropped low, letting the blow pass over him, then drove his shoulder into Gormash's midsection. It was like hitting a wall, but it made the bigger alien stumble back a step. That step was all Hyunwoo needed. He swept Gormash's leg, a move that would have looked impossible given their size difference. But it wasn't about kicking the leg out from under him. It was about putting the Razor Claw off balance for just a second. Just long enough, Gormash went down hard. The floor shook when he hit. He tried to roll to get back up, but Hyunwoo was already on him. A knee pressed against the back of the Razor Claw's neck, not crushing but controlling. One of Gormash's arms was twisted up behind his back at an angle that made further movement painful. The whole thing had taken maybe 10 seconds. The bar was absolutely silent. No one moved. No one spoke. They just stared at the human cargo hauler who had just put a razor claw on the ground. Gormash struggled, trying to use his superior strength to break free. But every time he pushed, Hyunwoo adjusted his grip, his position turning that strength against him. It was like watching someone trying to fight water. The harder Gormash struggled, the worse his position became. "Stop moving," Hyunwoo said quietly. He was breathing hard, but his voice was still calm. "You'll just hurt yourself." Gormash said something that the translator rendered as several symbols that probably meant words that shouldn't be said in polite company. He tried to thrash free, but Hyunwoo shifted his weight and the razor claw's struggle stopped with a grunt of pain. Tae-sung found his voice first. "How did you do that?" Ji-young rushed over to Velrith, helping the shaken clicking to his feet. "Are you okay? Are you hurt?" Velrith's antennae were still flat, but he managed to nod. "I am unharmed. Thanks to..." He looked at Hyunwoo, his compound eyes unreadable. "Thank you." Someone near the window was holding up a communicator, definitely recording. The video was probably already uploading to the station network. Within minutes it would spread further. Within hours it would be on the Galactic feeds. Gormash tried one more time to break free, putting all his strength into it. Hyunwoo let him try. Let him exhaust himself against a hold that only got tighter the more he fought it. Finally, the razor claw went still, his breathing heavy with exertion and rage. "How?" Gormash's voice was rough even through the translator. "You are human. You have no weapons, no claws, no armor. How?" Hyunwoo didn't answer immediately. He was listening for something. Then he heard it. The sound of running footsteps in the corridor outside. "Station security finally arriving." "I asked nicely first," Hyunwoo said. 4 security officers burst through the door, weapons drawn. They stopped short when they saw the scene. A razor claw mercenary on the ground, held by a human who looked like he had just been interrupted during a quiet drink. The lead officer, a wanderer named Kelora, lowered his weapon slowly. "What happened here?" Ji-young stepped forward. "This razor claw was assaulting one of my patrons." Hyunwoo intervened. Kelora looked at Hyunwoo, then at Gormash, then back at Hyunwoo. "You did this?" "He gave me no choice," Hyunwoo said. 2 of the security officers moved forward carefully, pulling out restraints. Hyunwoo released his hold slowly, keeping his hands visible as he backed away. The moment he let go, Gormash tried to lunge at him again, but the officers were ready. They tackled the razor claw, 4 of them working together to get the restraints on. Even restrained, Gormash was shouting, "I will kill you, human. I will find you. I will tear you apart. You'll be on a transport back to Razor Space within the hour," Kelora said coldly. "And you're banned from this station for life. Count yourself lucky we're not filing charges." They dragged Gormash toward the door. He was still shouting threats, still struggling. The other patrons pressed back against the walls to let them pass. Then they were gone and the bar was quiet again. Kelora turned to Hyunwoo. "I'll need a statement from you." "Of course," Hyunwoo said, "and I need to ask. What's your background?" "Military? Terran Defense Forces. Combat instructor." "But that was 5 years ago." Kelora nodded slowly. "It shows. That was very professional. Very controlled." He paused. "Most beings would have run from a razor claw." "I'm not most beings," Hyunwoo said simply. After Kelora left to file his report, the remaining patrons started to talk all at once. Some came up to Hyunwoo, wanting to shake his hand or touch his arm like he was some kind of good luck charm. Others kept their distance, looking at him differently now. Tae-sung pushed through the small crowd. "You never told me you were in the military. You never told me you were a combat instructor." Hyunwoo shrugged. "It never came up. I haul cargo now. That's who I am." "That's not all you are," Ji-young said. She poured him a fresh whiskey, this one on the house. That was incredible. Terrifying but incredible. Velrith approached slowly. He held out one of his thin arms in what Hyunwoo recognized as a gesture of respect among the clicking. "You saved my life. I am in your debt." "You're not in my debt," Hyunwoo said. "I just did what was right." "Most would not have," Velrith said quietly. "Most would have let him hurt me and said it was not their concern." "You are not most." Hyunwoo picked up his fresh whiskey and took a long drink. His hands were starting to shake now that the adrenaline was wearing off. He had hoped those days were behind him. The days of having to hurt people even when they deserved it. He had hoped he could just be a simple cargo hauler living a simple life. But the galaxy had other ideas. Someone's communicator chimed. then another, then several at once. People were checking their messages, their feeds. One of the miners who had been playing cards earlier looked up with wide eyes. "Hey," he said, "you guys need to see this. The video of the fight. It's everywhere. The whole station is watching it. The whole sector." Hyunwoo closed his eyes. Of course it was. Nothing stayed private anymore. Not with everyone carrying recording devices everywhere they went. "Let me see," Taesung said. Someone held up a communicator showing the video. It had been taken from the side capturing everything. Gormash's attack, Hyunwoo's response. The razor claw going down. The hold that kept him there. The video had already been shared 10,000 times. The comments were pouring in faster than anyone could read them. Hyunwoo finished his drink and stood up. "I'm going to my ship. You're leaving?" Ji-young asked. "I need to sleep. It's been a long day." "The longest," she agreed. But Hyunwoo, "Thank you for stepping in, for protecting Velrith, for protecting all of us." He nodded and walked toward the door. The other patrons moved aside to let him pass, watching him go with something that looked like awe, mixed with a little fear. He had been just another customer an hour ago. Now he was something else. Outside in the corridor, Hyunwoo took a deep breath. His shoulder hurt where he had hit Gormash. His knees hurt from the impact with the floor. He wasn't as young as he used to be. These days, fights left him sore. But Velrith was alive. That had to count for something. He started walking toward the docking level where his ship waited. Behind him in the stellar drift, people were still talking about what they had witnessed. And far beyond the station, on worlds across the galaxy, people were starting to watch a video that would change how they thought about humans forever. 3 days later, Hyunwoo returned to the stellar drift. He had spent those days on his ship, catching up on maintenance and trying to ignore his communicator. It wouldn't stop chiming. Messages from people he hadn't talked to in years. Interview requests from news networks. Even a few marriage proposals which seemed strange, until Taesung explained that some species found displays of combat prowess very attractive. When he walked into the bar, the conversation stopped for a moment. People looked at him. Some nodded respectfully. Others quickly looked away. A few raised their glasses in silent salute. It made Hyunwoo uncomfortable. He liked being invisible, just another hauler in a galaxy full of them. Ji-young smiled when she saw him. There he is, the man of the hour. Or should I say the man of the week? Please don't, Hyunwoo said, sliding onto his usual stool. Just a whiskey, same as always. She poured his drink and set it down. You know the video has over 50 million views now? It's been on every major network. They're calling it the moment humanity announced itself to the galaxy. That's dramatic, Hyunwoo said. That's what they're saying. Ji-young leaned on the bar. There was a xenobiologist on the Galactic news network yesterday. Taeyun, I think her name was. She spent an hour explaining human evolution, and why what you did shouldn't have surprised anyone. Should it have surprised people? Hyunwoo asked. Apparently yes. Most species in the galaxy evolved as either predator or prey. Clear roles, clear positions in the food chain. Humans are different. You evolved as both. Hyunwoo had heard this before, but he let Ji-young continue. She seemed excited to tell him. Taeyun explained it really well. She said humans had to deal with everything on Earth. Big predators like lions and bears. Small predators like snakes and spiders. Disease, parasites, other humans. You didn't have claws, so you learned to use rocks and sticks. You didn't have armor, so you learned to dodge and think and plan. You couldn't outrun most predators in a sprint, so you learned to outlast them. You just kept coming, kept chasing until they collapsed from exhaustion. Persistence hunting, Hyunwoo said. Yeah, but it's more than that, Ji-young continued. It's the fact that humans learned to fight everything. Every kind of threat. You developed weapons, sure, but you also developed fighting systems. Ways to hurt things bigger than you, stronger than you, more dangerous than you. And you taught those systems to each other. Every human child on Earth learns some form of fighting. It's just part of your culture. Hyunwoo shrugged. Not every child. But most, yeah. My mother signed me up for martial arts when I was 6. Said I needed to know how to defend myself. And that's normal for humans? Pretty normal, yeah. Ji-young shook her head. That's what's shocking everyone. Most prey species never fight. Most predator species rely on natural weapons. Humans are the only ones who systematically teach combat as a skill. The only ones who turned fighting into a science. Taesung arrived and sat down next to Hyunwoo. Have you seen the comment sections? It's chaos. Half the galaxy is terrified of humans now. The other half wants to hire us. Hire us for what? Hyunwoo asked. Security, training, protection. There are prey species who've spent their entire history being pushed around by predator species. Now they're wondering if they could learn to fight back. They could, Hyunwoo said quietly. Anyone can learn. It's just technique, physics and leverage and knowing where to put pressure. See, you say that like it's simple, Taesung said. But to them it's revolutionary. There are species who've accepted being victims for thousands of years. Now they're seeing that maybe they don't have to be. A clicking approached their section of the bar. It was Velrith. He had stayed on the station, though he had kept a low profile since the incident. Now he stood in front of Hyunwoo, holding a small package wrapped in iridescent cloth. I wanted to thank you properly, Velrith said. His translator gave his words a formal tone. What you did for me, what you risked. My people have a tradition. When someone saves your life, you give them something precious. He held out the package. Hyunwoo took it carefully and unwrapped the cloth. Inside was a small sculpture made from crystal. It caught the light and split it into rainbows. The shape was abstract but beautiful. This was made by my nest mother, Velrith said. It's been in my family for 4 generations. I want you to have it. I can't take this, Hyunwoo said. It's too much. Please. Velrith's antennae twitched. It would honor me. It would honor my family. You gave me my life. This is the least I can give in return. Hyunwoo looked at the sculpture, then at Velrith. Finally, he nodded. Thank you. I'll take care of it. Velrith made a gesture that might have been a bow. Then he returned to his table, though Hyunwoo noticed he sat where he could keep an eye on the door now. Some things changed you even when you survived. Ji-young watched the exchange with interest. You're becoming a symbol, you know, whether you want to be or not. I don't want to be, Hyunwoo said firmly. Too late. The galaxy has decided you represent something. Human potential. Human courage. The idea that the weak don't have to stay weak. I'm not weak, Hyunwoo said. Exactly. That's the point. Humans aren't weak. You never were. You just let everyone think you were. Over the next few days, more things happened. News reports, analysis pieces, debates on the Galactic forums. Some predator species were angry, saying that humans were upsetting the natural order. Some prey species were hopeful, wondering if things could change. Some species in the middle, like the Wanderers, were just watching with interest to see what would happen next. A week after the fight, a human showed up at the stellar drift asking for Hyunwoo. His name was Sung-ho, and he carried official credentials from the Terran embassy. He bought Hyunwoo a drink and got straight to business. We have a situation, Sung-ho said. The video has caused what we call a diplomatic ripple. Several prey species governments have reached out to Earth asking for help. Help with what? Hyunwoo asked. Training. Security consulting. They want to know if humans can teach their people to defend themselves. Not with weapons, though there's interest in that too, but hand-to-hand combat. Self-defense. The things you did in that video. There are thousands of combat instructors on Earth. Tens of thousands across human colonies. Why come to me? Because you're the one in the video. You're the one who made 50 million people reconsider what they thought they knew about humans and fighting, and who has to be a victim. Hyunwoo took a drink. I'm a cargo hauler. I left the military 5 years ago because I was tired of hurting people. You didn't hurt Gormash that badly. Bruised his pride more than his body. That's what made the video so powerful. You controlled him. You showed that fighting doesn't have to be about killing. It can be about protection. What exactly are you asking me? Sung-ho pulled out a data pad. The clicking homeworld has formally requested human security trainers. They want someone to teach their planetary defense forces hand-to-hand combat. Someone to show them that being prey doesn't mean being helpless. They specifically asked for you. No, Hyunwoo said immediately. It's a good contract. 6 months. Excellent pay. And you'd be making history. First human to formally train an alien species in combat. I said no. I'm happy hauling cargo. Sung-ho nodded slowly. I understand. It's your choice. But think about it. Velrith is alive because you knew how to fight. How many more beings would be alive would be safe? If their people knew what you know. He left the data pad on the bar and walked out. Hyunwoo stared at it for a long time. Then he pushed it away and ordered another drink. But the question stayed with him. How many more? Ji-young picked up the data pad and read through it. 6 months on the clicking homeworld. Teaching self-defense. The pay really is excellent. I don't need the money, Hyunwoo said. No, but they need what you have, skills, knowledge, the ability to show them they're not helpless. Why me? Why does it have to be me? Because you're the one who stepped up when no one else would. Because 50 million beings watched you protect someone weaker than you. Because symbols matter, and whether you like it or not, you're a symbol now. Hyunwoo finished his drink. He thought about Velrith, terrified and trapped. He thought about all the other Velriths out there, living in fear because they'd been told they were prey and prey didn't fight back. He thought about the sculpture on his ship, catching rainbows in the light. I'll think about it, he finally said. Ji-young smiled. That's not a no. It's not a yes either, but it's not a no. 6 weeks later, Hyunwoo stood in a training facility on the clicking homeworld, watching 30 clicking security officers watch him back. Their antennae twitched nervously. Some of them shifted from foot to foot. They looked at him like he might suddenly attack them. He understood. To them, he was the human from the video, the one who took down a razor claw with his bare hands, the one who made it look easy. They probably expected him to be mean, harsh, maybe even cruel. That's what most predator species instructors were like. Hyunwoo took a breath and spoke, letting his translator turn his words into clicks and chirps. My name is Hyunwoo. I'm here to teach you self-defense. Not how to kill. Not how to be predators. How to protect yourselves and others. How to not be victims. One of the clicking raised a thin arm. Is it true what they say? That humans were both predator and prey? Yes, Hyunwoo said. We were in the middle. Everything on our homeworld wanted to eat us or hurt us. So we learned to deal with everything. Big threats, small threats, all of it. And you learned to fight without claws or armor or venom. We learned to fight with what we had. Our bodies, our minds, our ability to understand leverage and balance and weak points. Those things work on any species. Another clicking spoke up, voice trembling slightly. Can we really learn? We're not built for fighting. We're prey. Hyunwoo walked over to that one. He kept his movements slow and non-threatening. May I? He gestured to the clicking's arm. The officer hesitated, then extended his thin limb. Hyunwoo held it gently. Your arm is thin, fragile-looking, but look. He traced his finger along the chitinous sections. You have natural armor here. Not as thick as a razor claws, but enough to deflect a blade if you know how to angle it. And here. He touched the officer's elbow joint. You have leverage. Your arm is longer than mine relative to your body. In a grapple, that's an advantage if you know how to use it. He let go and stepped back. Every species has advantages. Every species has disadvantages. Fighting isn't about being the strongest or having the best natural weapons. It's about using what you have better than your opponent uses what they have. Over the next 3 months, Hyunwoo taught them. He started with basics. How to stand. How to move. How to fall without getting hurt. The clicking were awkward at first. Their bodies not used to combat movements. But they learned. Slowly, steadily, they learned. He taught them about leverage and pressure points. He showed them that a joint bent the wrong way would drop anyone, no matter how strong. He demonstrated that you didn't need to overpower an opponent if you could redirect their force and use it against them. Most importantly, he taught them about mindset. Your species has spent generations thinking of yourselves as prey, he told them one day. That's a choice. Not a biological fact, a choice. You can choose differently, word spread. The video of the training sessions went viral too, though not as widely as the bar fight. Other prey species watched with interest. Some predator species watched with concern. The Galactic Council convened a special session to discuss what they were calling the human problem. Hyunwoo watched it on the newsfeed with Sung-ho, who had stayed on as a liaison. They're scared, Sung-ho said as they watched a Razor Claw representative argue that humans teaching combat to prey species would destabilize the galaxy. Good, Hyunwoo said. Maybe they'll think twice before pulling another dominance display. There have been 3 other incidents, Sung-ho told him. Prey species fighting back against predator species.
One was a clicking security officer who subdued a razor claw pirate using techniques you taught.
The video is everywhere. Did anyone get killed? No, that's what's remarkable. The prey species are winning these confrontations without killing. They're using restraint control just like you did. Hyunwoo nodded. That was important. Violence as a last resort. And even then, only as much as needed. That's what I try to teach. A human diplomat appeared on the screen, a woman named Haiwan. She spoke calmly to the council. Humanity is not teaching aggression. We're teaching self-defense. There's a difference. For too long, this galaxy has accepted a hierarchy based on who has the biggest claws or the most venom. We're simply showing that there's another way. A wanderer counselor, one of the more neutral species, asked a question. But won't this lead to more violence? If prey species start fighting back, won't predator species escalate? Hay-One smiled slightly. They might try. But consider this. For the first time in galactic history, predator species will have to think twice before attacking someone weaker. For the first time, being prey won't automatically mean being a victim. We call that progress. The debate went on for hours. In the end, the council couldn't agree on anything concrete. Some wanted to ban human combat training. Others argued that would violate freedom of association laws. A few even suggested that all species should have access to such training. Back on the clicking homeworld, Hyunwoo continued teaching. His students were getting better. They moved with more confidence now. Their antennae didn't flatten in fear so quickly. They were starting to believe they could protect themselves. On the last day of his 6-month contract, Hyunwoo stood before his class one final time. You've learned a lot, he told them. But the most important lesson isn't any technique or move. It's this: you are not helpless. You never were. You just believed you were because that's what you were told. One of the officers, who had been particularly dedicated, stepped forward. What you've given us is more than fighting skills. You've given us hope. The idea that we can change, that our species can be different. You were always capable of being different, Hyunwoo said. I just showed you some tools. What you do with them is up to you. He returned to Haven's Gate Station 2 weeks later. The stellar drift looked exactly the same, but somehow different too. There were more clicking patrons now, more prey species in general, and they sat differently, carried themselves differently. Less hunched, less fearful. Ji-young poured him his usual whiskey before he even asked for it. Welcome back, teacher. Don't call me that, Hyunwoo said, but he was smiling. Too late. That's what everyone's calling you. The human teacher. Has a nice ring to it. Tae-sung came in and clapped Hyunwoo on the shoulder. Did you see the news? 4 more prey species governments have requested human trainers. Earth is setting up a whole program. Security academies on a dozen worlds. Good, Hyunwoo said. The more people who can protect themselves, the better. A familiar figure approached. Felrith, the clicking trader who had started everything. I heard you were back. How was the homeworld? Good. Your people are quick learners. Thanks to you. Velrith settled onto a seat nearby. Things are changing, you know. I was just on a station in Predator space last week. A Razorclaw tried to intimidate me. I stood my ground. I didn't fight, didn't have to. But I stood my ground and looked him in the eye, and he backed down. Because he knew, Hyunwoo said. Knew what? That you weren't easy prey anymore. That if he pushed, you might push back. That's all it takes sometimes. Just the knowledge that you can fight is enough to prevent the fight. Over the next few months, the galaxy adjusted to its new reality. Predator species found that their traditional intimidation tactics didn't work as well anymore. Prey species walked with their heads higher. Incidents of violence actually decreased. Turns out, bullies backed down when they knew their victims might fight back. There were some conflicts, of course. Some predator species who couldn't accept the change. But even they learned that attacking prey species wasn't the sure thing it used to be. Hyunwoo went back to hauling cargo. But now between jobs, he took contracts teaching. A month here, a month there. He helped set up training programs. He certified other instructors. He did what he could to spread the knowledge. One evening, nearly a year after the incident, he sat at the stellar drift with his usual drink. The bar was busy, full of a dozen different species all mixing peacefully. A group of clicking were laughing at one table. Some young Razorclaws were playing a game with some wanderers at another. No tension, no fear. Ji-young leaned on the bar next to him. You did this, you know. I just stopped one fight, Hyunwoo said. You started a revolution. A peaceful one, but still a revolution. The galaxy is different now because one human decided that protecting someone was worth the risk. Hyunwoo looked around the bar, at all the different species, all the different beings, all coexisting without the old predator-prey dynamics ruling everything. Maybe Ji-young was right. Maybe one person could make a difference. You know what's funny? Tae-sung said, joining them. Gormash sent you a message. The Razorclaw. What did he want? To train. He's on his way here. Says he wants to learn what you know. Says the galaxy is changing and his species needs to change with it. Hyunwoo stared at his friend. You're joking. Not joking. He'll be here in 2 weeks. He specifically asked for you as an instructor. Hyunwoo thought about that. The predator who had started everything, now wanting to learn from the prey. That was change. That was real change. I'll consider it, he said. That's not a no, Ji-young pointed out. No, Hyunwoo agreed. It's not. He looked out the window at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there on dozens of worlds, beings were learning that they didn't have to be victims. That strength came in many forms.